Why is it that every game seems to model the AS VAL as an OP wonder weapon? There's no doubt the SP6 9x39mm is a good round, and its performance can be staggering. But this is where the information available and the facts of the real world get a bit muddled with overzealous claims and misconceptions. The result is that nearly every game from COD Warzone to Escape from Tarkov to ARMA 3 RHS has a problem simulating the AS VAL and the 9x39 SP6. Whether it's limited by the mechanics of the game, personal bias, or just the result of sloppy research, it seems the subsonic 9x39mm has lethality and performance far beyond what real-world data suggests. Now, of course, this is just one guy's opinion, but I'm gonna show you some facts from a bit of casual research that illustrate how the AS VAL and SP6 9x39mm is, for the most part, overpowered and not the magic weapon every game developer seems to think it is. Let's strip down some of the popular misunderstandings about the SP6. So the first thing you'll often hear is the SP6 can penetrate 8mm of RHA at 100 meters. RHA stands for Rolled Homogeneous Armor. Now, that all sounds scientific and technical and impressive, but rolled homogeneous armor is just heat-treated steel that was used for World War II era tanks and APCs. It's old tech, and yes, it's still used to strengthen many tanks and IFVs, but it's not what is considered armor by today's standards. So, yeah, if you're hiding behind a car door that's basically made of tin foil, the SP6 is going to slice through it and mess you up. Next, you'll hear about 30 layers of Kevlar at 200 meters. And again, I'm sure it does do this. The thing is, a vest made with 30 layers of Kevlar is a vest designed to stop pistol rounds. It's what most people think of when they say bulletproof vest. Originally, they were made with 15 layers with the introduction of Kevlar in the mid-1970s. And this was the vest worn by cops. It was their second chance. And modern similar vests have more layers and also a rigid plate to stop fragments. But don't get confused. These are still vests designed to stop pistol rounds. You'll also probably find that the SP6 is rated to defeat Ghost Class 3 armor at 100 meters. This is armor designed to stop this 57N231. That's the standard issue military AK bullet. And the 7N6. That's the standard 5.45 by 39 service cartridge for the AK-74 platform. So, while it all sounds great, I think you've realised that Ghost Class 3 isn't a high-tier military vest, and certainly not the type of vest anyone is wearing out of choice. I expect you've also probably heard about how the round was banned in the Syrian conflict because of over-penetration that could cause collateral civilian casualties. Which sounds quite sensible, because most civilians aren't running around in military plate carrier vests. In layman's terms, we've got a heavy steel subsonic bullet cutting through lower tier ballistic cloth vests and cinder block walls. The kind of stuff likely to be associated with malicious and poorly equipped terrorists. Exactly what it was originally designed and envisaged to do. So all should be good. Only it isn't. Because for some reason, the bullet is often given the mythical ability to penetrate through modern Class 4, ESAPI or Ratnik Class 4, 5 and 6 vests. So what are these vests? Well, these are the plate carriers, the military vests that have evolved since the 1980s development of the SP6 round. These plate carriers combine layers of Kevlar or Spectra with a boron carbide plate, not hot rolled steel or rolled homogeneous armour, and boron carbide just happens to be the third hardest substance known to man. So let's put some figures behind this and illustrate exactly what the modern soldier with his boron carbide silicon enhanced Spectra backplate carrier is protected against. Well, there you go. 3 hits from a 7.62 by 51mm armour piercing round. You can look at all the enhancements and improvements, but the too long didn't read explanation is, if you have a modern plate, the SP6 isn't going to go through it. In fact, you need a tungsten carbide cord round to go through one of these plates. The Russian Ratnik level 4 and above, even when taking into account the new standards, is also more than enough to keep you safe from the SP6. Therefore, in order to damage someone with the 9x39mm, you literally need to destroy the complete integrity of the plate with half a dozen or more rounds. And to do that, you'd better hope they're standing pretty close to you. Now, I might hear some of you mutter, yeah, but there's still the force of impact you've got to think about. Blunt force trauma. Well, I've not been able to find any report of someone being killed by blunt force trauma after a failed penetration of their plate by any bullet. So, if you're running around in pyjamas, hiding behind car doors or walls made of reconstituted ash, or if your game is set in the Cold War era before the introduction of advanced ceramic plates and boron carbide inserts, then yeah, I'd be shit scared of being hit by the heavy steel SP6. But in today's world and modern game world, I think you'll find this old tech is outclassed by the modern materials designed to protect troops. It's just a pity that the various game developers seem to be seduced by some fantastical notion that it's a magic bullet, when really it's just a big lump of steel moving pretty slowly. I dare say you've also heard about the 300 to 400 metre effective range. Well, did you know the AS VAL has a 7-inch or 20 centimetres long barrel? You can see the barrel length marked in red. This above is the suppressor and shroud. There's no rifling in that. Now, some pistols have barrels that long, like, for example, this 1911 hardballer. That's the top one in the picture. In fact, I dare say your wife or girlfriend has something longer in her bedside cabinet drawer. What I'm trying to illustrate is that the VAL has got a short barrel, and as we all know, a longer barrel increases accuracy and the velocity of the bullet. Now, the reason the VAL has such a short barrel is because there's a lot of charge behind the SP6, and with a longer barrel there's more time and room for the propellant to burn, and it would accelerate the bullet to supersonic speed. Therefore, you need a shorter barrel to keep the bullet subsonic. But how accurate do you really think this gun is going to be out to 200 metres? Let alone 300 or 400 metres, the often quoted effective range. Sure, the bullet might retain enough energy at that range to inflict lethal injuries. The SP6 does have great energy retention and it's less affected by wind. And as you can see, the SP6 is hitting with the same energy at 300 to 500 metres as if you are being shot at point blank range with a 45 ACP. So yes, it is going to hurt if you hit something, but unless it's the size of a cow, I really don't think you're going to be hitting anything at 300 or 400 metres. And I'll show you why. Bear in mind it takes 1 second for an SP6 round to get to 300 metres and 1.4 seconds for it to get to 400 metres. The other thing to consider is the actual trajectory of the SP6, or more accurately its parabola, the arc the bullet takes. Here's an illustration. You may have seen the SP6's parabola referred to as rainbow-like. If you're being rude, you'd say it's more akin to a mortar. At 300 meters, you have 175 inches of drop. That's 14.5 feet. At 400 meters, you have 275 inches of drop. That's 23 feet. So do you think that's modelled properly? Have you found yourself holding a reticle 15 or 20 feet above a target? Hence, the VAL and the VSS are not precision weapons. They are not sniper rifles. Sniper rifles don't have 7-inch barrels and they don't fire subsonic rounds. Finally, we'll talk about recoil. The shooter's felt recoil is more than the 7.62 by 39. So it's got more felt recoil than say an AK-103. So if the game you play models recoil properly, chances are the VAL's recoil needs to be upped. Taking all these into account, you'd better hope whatever you're aiming at is big and standing still, like a grazing cow. One thing most games do seem to get right is the rate of fire. The VAL does indeed seem to achieve 900 rounds per minute. But that aside, as you can see, in my opinion, the AS VAL is always overpowered and misrepresented in games. To summarise, ballistic comparisons against vintage or soft armour, incorrect or generous modelling of bullet trajectory, poor recoil simulation, and finally, misguided assumptions about accuracy and effective range. It might kill an unarmoured person at 400 or 500 meters, but I don't think it ever will. Well, not in the real world. Anyway guys, that's all I've got for you. I hope you enjoyed learning a few things about the real world AS VAL and the 9x39mm subsonic round. Do leave a like and maybe drop into the bear pit that I'm sure the comment section will become. Thanks a lot for watching, and finally many thanks to Lazarev Tactical for letting me use his footage.